This nation was founded by men of many nations and backgrounds.
Kevin Jackson, my man.
It was founded on the principle that all men are created equal.
Hark Henry.
That the rights of every man are diminished when the rights of one man are threatened.
Do you understand the power this gives us?
What's up, everybody? It is your boy, the H-double Hark Henry, and you are listening to 5 on the Black Hand Side podcast. I think that's our name. Is that our name today, Kev?
That's
the name, because we changed it a few times. So, like I said, I'm Hark Henry. I got my man Kevin Jackson here with me today, and we got a special guest, my blood, my cousin, Slim Tim Tim. What's up, family? How you doing?
I'm good. How you doing, cousin?
I'm good. So before we begin, this show is brought to you by Sons of SP Phillips. Go to sonsofspphillips.com. You can get this super dope United States of African American shirt custom. Go on there, sign up on the website, www.sonsofspphillips.com. It's an online boutique with men and women's clothes and apparel. If you sign up, you get a discount. There's a $5 flat shipping fee, free shipping, anything over $45. A lot of good stuff on there. You can listen to some other podcasts that me and my wife have, that's the Thursday podcast. That's streaming on Anchor and Spotify, but you can also pick it up on the www.sonsofspphillips website. There's a lot of other information on there. There's some information, some blogs about domestic violence and mental health things. A lot of things for you to get informed and get help and get serious about what's going on in society and our culture. So, without further ado, man, I'm gonna get this started. But before I do, I got a question for you, Kevin. Retired police officer Kevin Jackson, because you know his first name is retired police officer. So Kev used to be a cop in Baltimore, Tim. So I just finished binge watching The Wire. Man, was y'all that hardcore for real up there in Baltimore?
It's worse, man. That's really close to the real, but yeah, Baltimore.
Wow.
It's a whole different way of living. It's bad.
Yeah, they thought cracking heads was a way of doing police work. I'm like, what? And
they got issues on both sides of that thing, man. I met a couple of Baltimore City police officers up there, bruh. I don't know who to root for real. I don't.
They got the guy who did that one. He wrote another show called We Run This Town.
Mm-hmm.
And it was in Baltimore. It wasn't like a part 2. Like, he had some of the same actors, but they wasn't playing the same roles. And it was taking place like right after Freddie Gibbs got hurt. So it's like they was trying. Yeah. So it was like they was trying to change their mentality. So like that happened like a couple years ago. So it's like they was still trying to crack heads and fighting them against us type of mentality stuff. And I'm like, man, that cannot be for real.
Yeah, it's real, man. It's like that every day, bro. I don't know how bad. It's been 20 years since I've been there, but I can't see it getting better.
I rode through Baltimore once, and I was like, I couldn't believe what I saw. I was like, man, this looks horrible, man. Yeah.
Don't stop. Don't ask for directions. Get your gas before you go up through there, and make sure you know where you at. Because there's places in Baltimore that have $1 million homes, and there's places in Baltimore that got $1 million parole. Bail hearings.
Oh, wow.
I mean, it's bad. Yeah.
Well, duly noted.
But
so
yeah, that's real close. People ask me about that all the time.
So what we're gonna do here, man? We're gonna jump right into this, and I think this is like our 4th episode on 5 on the Black Hand Side podcast. So the title of this is called Kanye. Is he a genius or just talking shit? That's our topic. And if you haven't been paying attention, Kanye is under a whole lot of scrutiny. He's doing a whole lot. Some people are taking his side, some people are not. And me and my cousin got to politicking on Facebook the other day, and I said, man, we put so much together. We need to do a podcast. But I think it was important because he was saying some things that he believes, and I was saying some things that I believe. And at the end of the dialogue, we may not have agreed, but I could say that we both learned something. And I think this is good because we have 3 generations of black men here, and we are definitely affected by what happens in our community and what happens with the information that goes into our brains. And with Timmy being the youngest, I'm very interested in his outlook on what's happening. Because by the end of this conversation, the fact is we're not going to agree because we all have our opinions. We've seen things differently. But at the end of it, we will be so enlightened because our podcast here with me and Kevin is all about solutions. We don't get on here and just talk about what we need to do or what needs to be done. We talk about solutions that should be made. And I think this dialogue would be good. And Tim, I want you to go ahead and just kind of run it off your thoughts on what's happening with Kanye and kind of what you're seeing in the community and socially from your standpoint. How old are you?
I'm 30.
You only 30? Dang, I thought you was older than that. but that's dope though. That's dope.
I feel like Kanye be doing a little bit of both, man. Kanye is a genius in a sense, and I feel like he talks shit, and that's just Kanye. But what Kanye doing right now, I feel like what people don't know or understand about Kanye always had a voice. He's always been outspoken. Even when Kanye was speaking about the things we want him to say. George Bush don't care about black people. Right. You know what I'm saying? This is that Kanye. You feel me? So I know Kanye, like, he always does things for shock value, but he always has, it's always some truth about what he says. You know what I'm saying? He's not stupid. Right. Kanye's a very smart man. You got to be smart to be where he at. You can't be no dummy to rub elbows with Jay-Z and all these guys he be with, So I just feel like Kanye is just a genius and he talks shit. I mean, a genius that, in a sense, in 2020, he's been telling us since 2020 when he was trying to run for president how certain partnerships that he had wasn't letting him out of his contract, or they wasn't allowing him to have the freedom of creativity or any. I don't know.
I know what you're talking about.
I follow.
I know what you're talking about.
So it's just like I see. You know what I'm saying? What's going on? You know what I'm saying? So that's 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and now we here, and he's making all these allegations and about Jewish people, about a lot of people,
right.
And now we see that now he's out of these. These contracts that he was trying to be out of 2 years ago, and he doesn't have to pay no money. Ain't no lawyers involved. When you get dropped, you drop. You feel me? So a lot of people just don't know. I feel like when you don't know and you don't understand, you call it crazy, or you don't, some people don't want to understand. Some people don't want to figure it out. A lot of people call it Kanye crazy, but, crazy is what crazy does, I just feel like we should just understand him, his craziness and keep it moving. They talking about him losing millions. What that got to do? You feel me? What that got to do with anything? He's already made it. He already has a platform. He has millions of dollars. And at the end of the day, we talking about his money that we don't have, So I feel like he's just, like I said, he a genius and he talks shit in the same, but I feel like if people really understood Kanye, they would understood like what he doing, And I'm gonna jump back on the White Lives Matter thing. Like, white people wear Black Lives Matter shirts, and we don't say nothing. You feel me? So I don't see nothing wrong with White Lives Matter. I don't see nothing wrong with Black Lives Matter, Blue Lives Matter, All Lives Matter, Dog Lives Matter, Cat Lives Matter. We all have our opinion because that's what makes America great. You feel me? So just understand that the freedom of speech and his platform. You know, a lot of us doesn't have the platform of Kanye. So I hope one day Joe's Harks, this podcast get up there. You feel me? So we can really make that money and we can really do what we want to do and say what we want to say and not be, you know, held accountable for whatever or restrict us from nothing, you know? So that's just what I see right now, you know, as far as like the Kanye.
Right,
you know?
right.
But
Yeah,
that's just all I got.
if I go to the top, I'll take you with me. Don't worry about that. and you know what? And I'm going to say this. I'm not going to take your spot, Kevin. It's just interesting to have someone young like Timmy on the line because I got my points here, and you know, as men, because this is a grown man dialogue, and it's not we're not here for say you're wrong, you're stupid. We're not doing that at all. This is a solutions podcast. Like I said, by the end, we're not going to agree, and you know, it's for me, it's not agreeing with what Tim's saying, but it's about being open to his train of thought and his processing of it, and I understand what he says. I understand, and then because I also understand he hasn't in his 30 years he hasn't experienced what I've experienced in my 48, and he hasn't experienced what Kevin has experienced in your I don't know how old you are 57, my man.
57.
And so and our outlook on this, our outlook on our culture and our society is very different. So, Kev, I'm gonna go ahead and let you knock it out, and then you know after I get done, we can just kind of ask each other questions about how we see stuff.
First of all, Tim Tam, I thought you was about 25 for real. I gave you about 25. But
no, I just look young.
Yeah. So you know what you said. I learned just by listening to what you said.
Right.
Because like Hark said, coming from a younger person who grew up with Kanye. Because I can remember when Kanye came out. I was a grown man by then. I really wasn't into his music, but I respected, the people who were. My kids listened to it. I even got friends that named their kids Kanye. So he's been around along, and he's got some wisdom to himself. I'm not here to bang on Kanye because I think in the black community we do too much of that anyway.
Right.
I think that we can recognize when someone does something and we can learn from it. We don't have to bang up on each other because trust and believe others will do it anyway. Mm-hmm. And he's catching it now. But like you said, though, Tim, that's his money. I'm pretty sure that this dude probably calculated how much money he was going to lose. That everybody else is surprised,
right?
That he really wanted to go out that way.
That's a good
The way
point.
I want to look at it, though, is making sure that the message that Kanye and other people put out there is going to be good for our community, and to make sure that that message, when it gets put out there, is number one the truth.
Yeah.
Like you said, some of that stuff that Kanye was saying, it was not what he said, is how he said it.
Yeah.
Think about this. When you say Jewish person in the United States, what does that look like? Who do you think when someone says Jew? Who do they look like? Let me make it easier. What color are they?
White.
So why not just say white people?
Right.
So I think that he said it just like you said, Tim, for that extra effect. Because he could have just said white people is controlling my man, Puff or whatever. But he said it, and you're right. He's not an idiot. He's not stupid. You don't get to be a multimillionaire being stupid, and you don't get to keep your money as a multimillionaire being stupid.
Right.
But the one thing that I would like to put out there is to be very careful on that message that you put out there. Kanye may be trying to do it to get a reaction, but Kanye has a huge following of people. We got to make sure that they take it into context that you took it at, Tim. that he wanted to get out of his contracts. He's not stupid. He's not saying stuff off the cuff. He is using his words or choosing his words to better what he wants it to do. And maybe this is the desired effect that he's had. But from me, as a person who looks at the Black community and trying to look at solutions, one of the things I want to do is make sure that we bring out a message that this is not where we're headed. We don't have the platform that he has, nor do we have people caring about what we say anyway. But we can't be putting stuff in people thinking that, all right, well, Kanye said it, so it must be true, or Kanye said it, so I'm gonna say it like that too, or this is the way I got to think about it because Kanye's thinking that way. Kanye hasn't said anything that other people haven't said.
Right.
Really, if you think about it, Jesse Jackson got in trouble, back in the day using a derogatory term for a Jewish person.
Yeah, and Tim might not know that. Tim might not know that Jesse Jackson was almost the first Black president, but because he called New York Jaime Town, he was out.
Right. Yep. He was done.
Yeah, he was close.
But think about it. The people who are against you, they sit and wait on that kind of stuff. They sit and wait on you. America loves the people from the top to fall to the bottom. And they will help you along the way. And the media will do it in a heartbeat. I mean, they've been doing it. They serve their purpose to whatever they're needed to do. I mean, they show us in that light. We were talking about Baltimore City and The Wire. And that's a part of media projecting what our lives are like, or the African-American community lives is like. It's entertainment, but it's absolute chaos when you live in that. And we have to bring out that realness. I mean, I've been to Baltimore City, and trust and believe, I was strapped because I was scared. I ain't gonna lie, I was scared, not because of what I saw in front of me, but what was portrayed in Baltimore City. What I know that's in Baltimore City, but what's also portrayed. We're portrayed as aggressive, prone to criminal activity,
right,
killing each other, drug dealing, all that stuff has been perpetuated through the media. And Kanye has to realize that we need people to go against that. We need people to go against that, what they're trying to portray us as. And sometimes he has, and sometimes he's made mistakes. We've all made mistakes, especially on someone that's in that arena. Somebody who every time he does something, somebody got a mic in front of his face. Sometimes it might not be that particular time that he may not be feeling good that day. If somebody's sticking a mic in his face and he say something, and now it's like, oh, okay, Kanye done lost his mind. No, you got on his nerves. That's what happened.
Right.
So we gotta recognize what they're doing to us and to our so-called leaders, and making sure that we don't tear each other down when it comes to a disagreement. I disagree with what he said, the way he said it.
Right.
But trust and believe, he ain't the only one that's ever said that.
Right.
We just got to be very careful to stop giving them ammunition to say, okay, now, Kanye hate Jews. I guarantee you he don't. I guarantee you he don't. He probably don't even know any Jewish people. But he set that match, and that fire is starting to burn. And now it's political system, it's political season, and now they want to divide us. So now Blacks and Jews have been working together for years. What do they want to do? They want to divide us. How they going to do that? They're going to use this one statement made by this one person and just blow it up. Now you got the Anti-Defamation League talking about boycotting Kanye and all this kind of stuff. But truth be told, the people who follow Kanye, they not falling into that. They really not.
Right.
So my whole message to this whole thing is just, we gotta be careful to how we respond to our own people, but also how we give ammunition to the opposition to hold us out there and put us out there in that light. Because on Five on the Black Hand side, we're looking for solutions, but we're also looking for something that's going to last, not that one-off thing. We're looking for to teach and educate young black individuals inside the community to do for themselves. It gets to a point where people trying to help you ain't really always trying to help you.
Right.
You know,
Help
and
themselves.
they don't got no love for Kanye because they put him on TV and it's, oh yeah, Kanye, what do you think now? They trust and believe. They don't got no love for him. They just want him to give them some ammunition. Kanye has a lot of followers. It's ridiculous for how many people is on his Twitter. Well, he ain't got Twitter no more, but
Right.
it's ridiculous on how
Shut 'em
many
down.
people follow him, and that makes it dangerous because now just think about in history how people have been taken down. Kanye may have some issues. Everybody got issues, but look how they're using him to make a point. Oh yeah, this dude got all this money. He's still crazy. Y'all keep throwing that out there if you want to. I think, like you said, Tim, I think the dude is he knows what he's doing. He knows what he's doing.
Mhm.
Now he went to sketches without making a phone call, but that just shows how brazen he is. So
Right.
I mean,
right.
he probably got to the front door. We probably wouldn't have got off the sidewalk, but
Right.
But yeah, I just want to make sure that we understand that what's going on here. It's not just about Kanye. It's about the entire system.
Right.
And once we put that in perspective, then we can start learning and going forward. If that makes any sense.
Right. Absolutely. And your perspective on it is a good one, man. And like I said, that's why we put this together, because you're giving us a perspective past, how we see Kanye. Because, like you said, Tim grew up as Kanye became famous. I think me and Kanye might be the same age. So, I mean, I think he's in his mid-40s or whatever. And you was already here. So, it's 3 generations of our perspective on what he's doing is just, it's enlightening. It's enlightening. And I'll be honest, listening to Tim's and listening to you've kind of changed my narrative, because I was going to come out and just say he just talking shit. and I still believe that I will never call him. I won't call him. I will not call him that. Maybe in his music, whatever, I don't know. But as far as for what he's doing right now, I can't agree with it. It might be a business move. If it is, I mean, like you said, he got out of it without any repercussions. Yeah, but he needs to remember also that he's a brand, and he can lose more as a brand than he can as a business owner, especially since he's associated with the Kardashian brand. Because as his brand devalues, their brand goes up, and then that gives them more power to do what they want to him. And I know what he's doing. He's setting it up, because I can see what he's doing. He's setting it up for when that happens. Oh, they won't let me see my kids. They won't let me do this. But he's setting that up. But he's also destroying his brand, and of course that reflects on who he is as a man as well, as a black man. And now the things he said about the Jews, like Kevin said, that's nothing new. The Jews have been in the media industry for decades, man. I mean, like, especially hip hop with the Beastie Boys, Rick Rubin, the guy who signed Wu-Tang back in the day. The Jews are just on the business end on a lot of things. But that's just how their community and their culture is raised. And a lot of people missed what Kanye was saying because he presented the information the wrong way. And that's when I say he's talking shit. So he's going after the Jews, saying, well, they're this and they're that. Then in the same breath, he said, I'm jealous of how they work together. Nobody caught that. I'm jealous of how they do things together. I'm paraphrasing, but this is what he said. And he's right about that. And I'll give him that, because the Jewish, I don't even know if I'm saying that, if I'm supposed to be saying that, but I'm going to say it. I'm not trying to be wrong about it. But they take care of their own. And they keep it in the community, in the culture, and if you're going to buy into that, yeah, they'll take care of you. I just watched a video on Instagram. The guy said he went to a Jewish guy's house. The guy showed him $6 million flat. He said he never saw that money. And he asked the guy, how'd you get the money? He said, the way Jews keep money is they stay with a group of people. And if everybody in that group, if one person's in that group is making money, they all make money. So he's saying, if you're with people that want to make money the right way, if you make money, they all make money. If you're with a group of people that don't want to make money, or don't want to do it right, he said, you're going to be broke, which is true, and which I think this is the difference between our culture and theirs. And if we just look at the things that's happened in the media, for example, with the Jewish culture, like I said, they don't tolerate any disrespect or anything from anybody outside or inside. So let's look at Harvey Weinstein. He was working with Dame Dash, Kanye, all them, making movies, da-da-da-da-da. Harvey Weinstein was the man to go to get movies done. But this dude was raping women on his couch. So when that came out, the Jewish community's like, nah, you're not messing us up, buddy. And they left him out there to hang, right? Now, when Bill Cosby did that same thing, because what wrong with our culture is we embrace the wrong things of our culture. So when Bill Cosby came out and was drugging chicks and raping them on the couch or whatever he's doing, what did we do? We was like, free Bill Cosby. He got set up. He didn't get set up. He did it. Cosby has comedy about drugging women that everybody's missed. But instead of be like, hey man, Cosby, you wrong, we just want to go ahead and take his side. But we defended him for the wrong things. Jews ain't doing that. If you gonna destroy our infrastructure, we're getting rid of you. That's business. Look at Epstein. He was making everybody money. Wexler, Trump, everybody money. But he started messing with little girls. Jews was like, nah, bruh. You're not messing up the community with that. What did we do when R. Kelly did it? Free R. Kelly. See what I'm saying? So we're jumping on the wrong side of things. And R. Kelly was singing about messing with young girls for years. We know for a fact that he messed with Aaliyah. We know for a fact that he did that. So what Kanye is saying on that retrospect is that they stick together on things that matter to their community. But if you're going to destroy what we're trying to build, we're not going to tolerate that. We're not going to tolerate you messing it up on the inside. We're not going to tolerate it on the outside. However, we don't do that. Like I said, we embrace the worst sides of our culture. We're looking at Kanye as only getting out of the business side, but we didn't listen to a lot of the other things that he was saying about coming together and doing it together in unity. And I feel like when I say he's just talking shit and when he's ranting and raving, he's bringing up the wrong topics. He's a billionaire. He could take that money and start to process things a little bit differently than what he's doing. And that's where I kind of get angry at him with it, because he has the platform, like you said, but I just don't feel like he's using it right, and we can't continue to blame it on being bipolar. Because I know bipolar people, and they're not ranting about Jews or anything or bringing harm to anything else. But I think he just has to be more responsible with the message that he's giving out, because now he's going to take a hit. Because what he's saying, Professor Griff said back in '89 about the Jews, and he got booted out of Public Enemy. And then a couple years ago, your boy Nick Cannon was on a podcast with Professor Griff and was calling Jews animals, close to animals. And what happened to Nick Cannon?
Who?
I mean, they call us animals.
But what happened again? But what happened to Nick Cannon? He almost lost his jobs, didn't he?
Because that's who controls his job.
Right. And he had to come back and say, oh, I'm sorry. But when they call us animals,
Better.
But when they call us animals, what do? Nothing.
Act like animals.
We don't come together. We don't hold anybody accountable for the things that they're doing to us, and we let it slide because we embrace some of the worst things about our culture and we lose respect on that. And I feel like Kanye and a few others should be more vocal about those things. But I think he's ruined that part when he talked about slaves having a choice. I think he's hurt his credibility and hurt our credibility on that when he says George Floyd died of fentanyl, when that's a whole different matter. And I think with the White Lives Matter, he ruined our credibility again because we're not holding him accountable for that. We're looking at this other stuff that we're glorifying, but we're not holding him accountable. And that's what we have to do. We have to start holding him accountable, not cancel him, but hold him accountable for the things that he's saying and the misinformation that he's giving out. Because that's the solution. The solution for our ignorance is information. Now, he talked about information, but he didn't give the right information. And that's where that's my issue with him. If you're going to use the mic, use it properly, give us the right information where we're all on the same plane, we're all on the same accord, and we're all doing things right, and we all have the same mindset, instead of causing more division between your peers and between the culture. And that's just my tidbit on it. So now I'm probably gonna get chewed up and on my Twitter and my Instagram, but that's cool though. That's what I want. I mean, it's my opinion, and everybody's open to their opinion.
Well,
I was with Kanye when he said that slavery was a choice.
So he was there because he used to do some music back in the day.
I was with him. When he said that, I understood what he was saying. See, the thing is, I feel like when Kanye says certain things, you have to understand a person to know what they're saying in the first place. So when you say slavery is a choice and it's coming from Kanye, people are not giving him understanding. They're not giving him his just due. They're thinking about everything else Kanye has done. Snatching the mic, saying all that other stuff. George Bush don't care about
Well, I
black
agree with him
people.
on that one.
So when he says stuff like this, and like the shock value, people don't really think about what he's saying when slavery really was a choice. Because if slavery was right now to this day, the way I don't know, I wasn't there. I heard books and movies. But if they did exactly what they were doing back then now, we have a choice to either bow down or lay down. And listen, I'm sorry, mama. I'm sorry, big cuz, but I'm a runaway. I got a choice.
Right.
Slavery was a choice. A lot of people shouldn't have stayed. A lot of people should have fought. A lot of people it should have been a lot more runaways. It should have been a lot more people dying, because there's no way I'm staying and witnessing half of the stuff I done heard out of books and movies. Buck bashing, making different slaves sleep with their mom and dad because of the statue of their physique. Like, I'm not staying. I don't care. I don't have to not know that I don't know. I could just imagine being a slave baby growing up, seeing that something in my soul is just going to tell me that's wrong. You feel me? So people don't understand that. People can't put themselves in that mind state that fast when you hear somebody like they say slavery was a choice. You feel me? Because when it's coming from a person like Kanye, instead of the person like, I'm going to say T.D. Jakes. You feel me? What if T.D. Jakes would have said that? I feel like a lot of more people would have really tapped into because of the statue of T.D. Jakes, a God-fearing person, a magnitude of a preacher and all, everybody, but it's Kanye, you feel me? But I understand just as well if T.D. Jakes would have said it, just as well as Kanye would have said it. See, a lot of people don't have understanding, so it's just an opinion thing when you talk about topics like this, because just as well as, like I said, T.D. Jakes could have said the same thing. And I'll be sitting here saying, you know what? He's right. Slavery was a choice. You feel me? But it's just Kanye. So I feel like people just throwing, oh, here go Kanye talking again, and not really paying attention to what's being said. You feel me? They really judging a book by its cover, because It's Kanye.
I get that. And when you put it that way, I get that. But again, there's the misinformation part of that. You know what I'm saying? Because yeah, you could have looked at it as a choice. Like Harriet Tubman, her choice was to run and get as many people across the border as she could. That was her choice.
That was her choice.
But he also needs to inform. He needs to also inform. The part of that information is how before our ancestors had those cognitive abilities to make that choice, how deep the brainwashing went.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where the misinformation comes along, and that's where he gets the scrutiny. Now, if he wants to take slavery as a choice to say it today, he said, yes, some of y'all are slaves to, like me, I don't, I like working from home because I don't like being slave to no job. So, I'm at home, I take care of my business, I do my work, and
that's your choice.
And that's it. But you ain't got me shackled to a desk. I'm still going to be free and do what I got to do. But if he's like saying you guys are slaves to a certain system and this and this and this and this and this and that, we still need that information because your interpretation of it is different from my interpretation of it. Because again, I got 48 years of being called all kind of stuff, and you guys are getting, I've said it before, you guys are getting it worse than what I got it. But I think Kev might have got it because you grew up in a time where racism and everything was crazy. But I'm in a time where it wasn't as bad. It was like underlining condescending type of stuff, and now it's getting worse because where they're just saying and doing anything. But yeah, now that he said it like that, I get it. You got something on that, Kev?
Well, one of the things that we have to be careful of is the danger. Kanye coming from an elementary, middle school, high school understanding of what slavery was. Right. And that's where it was. Africans got off the boat. First one said, I ain't doing that. The next one got whipped. The third one said, let's do this.
Yep.
It's about your education. It's about how you really delve into it. Like you said, what's the mentality of a slave? People didn't understand. I didn't understand when I was in school that all slaves didn't come from Africa. Slaves were built here. These people were slaves from day one. They were born into slavery. Mm-hmm. The African-American slave trade ended in 1808. It lasted another 70 years or so after that. Those people lived, they were born, they were raised, they lived, and they died slaves. They didn't know that this is not what we're supposed to be.
Right.
They were told every day, all day, that you are a slave, this is what you're going to be, this is what you're going to be till you die. And this is how you act. And if you don't, see that dude hanging from that tree, that's going to be you next. And ain't nobody coming in here to say we can't do it. So when we say, yeah, these brothers out here is like, man, I wouldn't have been no slave. Yeah, you would have been a dead black man. That's about all it is. Because white folks back then, they would kill you dead for even looking wrong at the white woman. Ask Emmett Till's mama. But because we now have a taste of freedom, and we ain't all free, but a taste of that freedom and understanding that like I said before in our last podcast, you put your foot on my neck, okay, I understand that. But if you let me up, I guarantee you won't put me back down. Right. Because I know how that feels now, and I know the difference. But if I'm born with a foot on my neck, I'm just breathing short. That's all. So we got to be careful when we say we understand that what Kanye said, well, it was a choice. It was a choice of life or death. It wasn't a choice of being a slave. Black man was chosen to be a slave because of what he looks like. Right. You can identify a black man from 100 yards away. You can't tell a Jew 100 yards away, but you can tell a black man 100 yards away. That's why we were chosen, because instantly we know, oh, that's a slave right there. They didn't have no way of looking at what a black man was that was free, because there were no black free men. And if they were, they wouldn't hang around the plantation. They was trying to get as far away as they could. So you got to have an example of what you want to be. Freedom is not natural. It's just not, especially when you grow up like that. Look at our children today. Look at how when you take a child and you grow him or her in a wrong way, what they turn out to be. And they have examples on what success is. But if you don't show them and nurture them and put them in a position for them to know that there's something better, then they're not going to know. I'll know better if I could do better if I knew better. And that's where I come from. This is why we do this podcast, because we're trying to educate and let you know that just because you think you know something, that ain't necessarily the truth. You got to go after the truth. And once you get to that truth, then you can start talking about, oh yeah, well, slaves should have went and done them things. Because trust and believe, you ever heard of Nat Turner? He got a little tired of being a slave. Right. And he went out of G for real, but he went out because they ended up killing him and everybody who they thought knew him. Right. You know, so we got to be careful on looking at our ancestors and seeing, you know, what they could have done. Because trust and believe, we here because they did something. They survived. One of the most ratchet periods in the history of the world. They survived and we're still here. And if you look at that, that should be celebrated upon more than anything. But there were people who resisted. I think, yes, it was a condition of the mind. And when your mind doesn't know any better or any different, then yeah, you are a slave. And it's not a choice. It was chosen. It's a choice, but it was chosen for you. It wasn't, because nobody's going to choose to toil soil for 20 days, 20 hours a day in Alabama. I bent my back over in Alabama one day and about burn up for about 20 seconds. So I already know them was some strong people. Right. But I understand what Kanye is saying, and he's talking about the mind. And he's talking about how people decided to just go ahead and go along to get along, but that's called survival in different centuries. That's called survival. You know, you had gladiators fighting to the death in Roman times. They didn't want to kill the other person, but they had to survive. They didn't choose to die. They chose to live, but then they had to kill somebody in order to do it. I mean, when you talk about choices are not forced upon you. Choices are choices that you made based on your education and what you want for your life. And we still doing it to this day. Right. You know, we got people going into prison. And I'll say it in a heartbeat. You ain't got to go. But we got black people going into prison every day for the rest of their life. 17-year-old just got locked up for a murder. He gone. He'll be older than me. I'll be dead. He'll be older than me before he gets out. He's 17 years old. Right. Why? Because he made a choice. So you talking about choices. They ain't always good. It ain't always good to have choices either. Right.
And to piggyback off of that part where you saying like it's what you said, choice is like a state of mind. You said something like that. You don't know you have a choice until you know you have a choice.
Yeah, where your state of mind is.
Right. And
the choice how you
And that's the thing, because me and Tim talk about all the time, and I say it all the time. Research, because when you're born into that, like Kevin said, you don't know anything, and that's a large part of why they forbid the slaves to read, because when you start reading, you become aware. You start reading something, you be like, oh, I didn't know. They grew up just thinking they were treated like cattle. You know, black people were branded and sold and the blah. They had collars, just like cows. But when you get one or two that can read, they're becoming enlightened, and it's like, well, I am a man. I walk just like them. So why am I being beaten? Why am I being free? And that starts to spur off a chain of events, like with Nat Turner, because I think he was a minister.
He was a preacher.
Yeah, he was a preacher, and he got to reading stuff about what was in the Bible. And he's like, well, you know, what they're doing is not right. So that's why they try to keep a lot of us from being educated. So, yeah, like I said, I get what he was saying. But Kanye has to add that information to it. He has to. Because, case in point, case in point, like right now, when he said everything that he said about the Jews, who was the first ones to jump up and jump on his spot? The Nazis. They start hanging banners. The Nazis. They start
got
hanging
a banner. I couldn't believe it.
They start hanging banners saying Kanye's right and this and this. And I'm like, y'all the dumbest individuals in the world. Number one, y'all follow the Nazis. Y'all following a religion or whatever the Nazis were, who were against America. They were against America. Hitler wanted to wipe America off the map.
Hey, people don't know though, not to cut you off, but 3% of Hitler's army was black people from Germany.
Well, he was recruiting people like that.
I'm trying to tell you, man, Hitler was against the Jews. He said, if you let the Jews have the power, the reason why we have the Federal Reserve right now, the private bankings. Hitler was trying to stop the Jews from starting the Federal Reserve, the private bankings that we have in America right now. I'm trying to tell y'all, and the man also had 3% of his army was black. While they're trying to, everything is inverted, man. Everything that we ever was taught in school is inverted. Not to cut you off, but I remember coming home from school 1997, 98, and when we was learning about slavery, I was, Mom, Grandpa, slavery, slaves. My grandpa was born 1928, June 28. Gene Barnes. And he sat down and he told me, like I'm telling y'all, he said, Sonny boy, I'm going to tell you like my grandmother told me, we didn't come off no boat. We always been here. You feel me? So I always knew who I was. You feel me? And I've always wanted to take that knowledge since 1996, 7 and go back to school. And because I knew my grandpa wasn't lying. You feel me? I respected him that much. You feel me? But I've always been one of those persons that, research your research. But I'm going to just go ahead and let you go back to what you were saying about the, Hitler and all that stuff. Because, Hitler is depicted as bad. He is depicted as, someone who did all these horrible things to these people. But, I mean, America, look at their history.
Right.
You feel me? Look how they started off of guns and off of carnage. And look the medieval times. You got to really know your history. People really have to research their research.
Right.
So when y'all talking to me, y'all talking to somebody that really researched their research on a lot of stuff that's inverted. A lot of stuff that we've been taught in these schools, it's wrong.
Right.
You feel me? We didn't even really need high school. It's a lot of stuff that trigonometry and I'm not even using that in my field right now. It's a lot of stuff that they really put on us that we don't even use. You're not using anything right now. Because you've been taught in school. You're self-made. Everything you learn from yourself. You see and you do, So I know what's going on, man. It's deeper than just, what I'm saying, people just saying stuff, because I really look and I really, 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 even with religion, you feel me? I research my research. And you've been saying that. You've been saying that since your father been alive, since we was at the dinner table on Thanksgiving.
Research your research.
You feel me? Research your research. And that's always stuck with me to the point where I'm going to do it two more times. You feel me? Because I don't want to be right. I don't want to be wrong.
Because it's about being misinformed. And
it is because the information is out there and a lot of information is inverted and they think we don't read. They think we're dumb. They think we think this about other people like us. You feel me? So you have to set yourself apart and just go within, man. I'm telling you, and that's where it starts. Instead of pointing a finger, you have to really go within yourself and figure it out. Because the minute you're pointing a finger, you're just like everybody else. You know what I'm saying? And that's how I feel like that's how we can change the world. I feel like if people just go within, and stop pointing the finger. If everybody just heal themselves first. If you heal yourself first, then you can heal the world. Then you can heal somebody else. If you love yourself first, then you can love somebody else.
That's my blood.
It's feel like that. And I don't feel like Kanye's healed all the way. He's crazy in a sense, but who are we, man?
Yeah, I don't like I think with Kanye, he hasn't researched the research. He has a point. He has a point,
Yeah.
but it's like he's getting information. It's like I gotta say this. I gotta go on LeBron's and that's what it sounds like. I gotta go say this on LeBron's show, but he said it the wrong way.
Hey, you sound
He said so. LeBron then was like,
hey, you sound just like that's
you
right.
can't come on here and say that. Well, I'm gonna go on Nori's show. I gotta say this. Listen to this, Nori.
Yeah, I gotta
say it. I gotta say it.
You don't have the answer,
right? And he just doesn't have all the information. And it's funny. I talked to my one of my bosses today, who's a white guy. He said, I like Kanye, but I don't think his information's right. So, and he was bringing up stuff, and he said something that I looked up, and I don't think it was accurate. But he said, I like him. Yeah. He said some of the stuff, I'm surprised at some of his views because some of it is spot on. And he said it's spot on, some of it, but he's not saying it right. And that's why I'd be like, he's just talking shit. Because some of it is, but like I said, I agree with some of it to an extent if the information is right. But I just think he can offer better solutions.
It's kind of like when you actually find some information and it blows your mind. And then you just want to go tell everybody. Just think about that person that went down to the altar and got saved or whatever. And now they know everything about
every scripture.
When it comes to they want to tell you everything. I had a roommate that happened to, man. He went down there and got saved, came back and wanted to evangelize me. Said, bro, I've been going to church all my life. You gonna tell me everything about, God and Jesus told me I was a heathen and all.
After one day?
You just got enlightened. You just got enlightened and you want to tell the world, and there's a way to do that. But like, again, you got to start reading about so you know what you're talking about. And that's why I don't spout off stuff. I don't talk about things I don't know about.
Right.
I can't have a podcast with talking about medical knowledge because even though I was a medic, I don't have that kind of knowledge. I'm not trying to talk about politics because I hate politics and I don't do my research in there. I just know all politicians are a bunch of liars. But no, not really. But I just don't do politics because politics is within. That's something you can't teach. But I do know about Black history, and I do know about how that Black history is continuing on. We're making history now. We're the first time in our lives, and I grew up in the 70s. This is the first time in our lives that we have the same access as everybody else does. You don't know it, but we do. Nobody told you that you couldn't do this podcast today. Right. Because of technology, we are on the same level when it comes to technology. Some of the young people that I work with, they want to be rappers. Like, yeah, that's fine. You want to be a rapper because that's what you see. But do you see the engineer? I say, because whoever goes into the studio, they got to pay the engineer. The engineer getting paid if you don't blow up or not. So learn how to control the technology that we're using to get on that same level. This is the first time, and it's scary to some people to allow us to be on the same level because we never have been, and when you're not on the same level, when you're on a lower level, other people take advantage of that. And when they take advantage of it, then that's when we become oppressed because we haven't had the advantages of what we see as European Jews. I'll say European Jews because when you think about a Jewish person, you don't think about a Black person, even though there are Black Jews. But I'm reading a book right now. It's talking about how Baltimore City was formed and how racism played a part in that. And Black people coming into Baltimore, some people don't even realize Maryland was a slave state, but it's a southern state. But when Black people came into Baltimore, they were subjugated. They were told where they could live. Even if it didn't matter if they were doctors, lawyers, it didn't matter. They were told where to live based on people thinking that if I allow you to buy this house in this neighborhood, our appraisals of our homes are going to go down. So that's where redlining came in, staring came in, segregation of and to this day, if you go into Cherry Hill, it's all Black. Baltimore City was like 80% Black at one point. but they were still subjugated or segregated into different areas. When you put people in the area that are oppressed all together and they don't learn from anybody other than themselves,
Right.
and then they tell you, well, the white man put you here, but you can't ever get out until you turn another color. Well, that's for the rest of your life. So that oppresses you because it's like, well, I can't do nothing. But they were in power, and they chose for us to be where we're at now. But now with this technology thing,
The
and
information.
the fact that some of our people like Sean Combs and people owning their own rights to their own music and showing people that it's not just about you getting out there and throwing rhymes out, but you got to understand who you dealing with. That's dangerous. That's scary. What that stuff Kanye saying, that ain't scared. They ain't scared nobody. But when you ain't saying it, when you doing, like Jay-Z, oh, they pretend like they love him, but they really don't. They just waiting on him to mess up too. Because he's taken them out of his success. He's not pointing to this one person or that one person over there that this is why I'm successful. I'm successful because I used everything within my abilities to get me to where I'm at now. That's self-sufficient, self-success, and that's dangerous in America as a black man.
Right.
And they don't want you to do that, and they don't want that message to get out there, but I'm telling you. Because if you can do it on your own, you don't need nobody. And if you don't need nobody, no one has control over you. And if you can't be controlled, that's an American way. Black folks have been controlled since the day we got off the boat. And it's really helped some people, but it ain't helped us. And my message to black people is stop turning around asking people for stuff. Take it. Take it legally. Take what they don't give you. Why did they fight us on segregation of schools so long? Because of education was something that they had control over.
Information.
And if they can control education, what goes into your mind, then they can control what you do, because you're going to do what's in your mind. You're going to do what you know. And if you don't know nothing but shucking and jiving or doing the things that are not conducive to you learning and moving forward, that's all good for the wrong people.
Right. I agree with that, man. My little tidbit, and I'm gonna let Tim get in here, and we're gonna shut this down here. I just want. Yeah, it did. She's upstairs hobbling around because she's on the cane. My tidbit, man. I just want. First, I'm gonna say this. My responsibility, first and foremost, is my African American people, and then my second responsibility is the people as a whole. So, with that being said, regardless of your lifestyle or anything like that, it's not my concern. Just your well-being and just that you're being equally treated because you're a person. As for my own culture, I just wish that we would just take better heed of what influence that we have, not only in America, but the world at large. And I honestly believe with a little bit more clear thinking, we can solve a lot of problems in the world. Because I've always said, when you have kids in Japan wearing do-rags, you one of the great. We're one of the greatest influences there is. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. When you got kids in Japan rocking Jordans or anything, Timbos, anything we rock, people in other countries are wearing that because we wear it, because we influence them and they're watching us. And stop worrying about well, why did they say this and why they said. We got to start holding people accountable, and we got to start holding ourselves accountable. And even on that, we got to start lifting ourselves up. That is the solution. And in order to get the solution, we have to have the information. In order to get the information, we have to do that research. Go ahead, Slim Tim.
No, listen, I'm going back to what he said. Don't get me started, man. I could go for days, man. Listen, it's a lot of information out there, but you have to research it. You have to go within. In anything you do, you got to go in self. Like I said, a lot of stuff that we was taught, we really could do on our own, So you have to go within, man. To fix the world, you have to heal yourself first. You got to heal you. And that's what's wrong with people. They can't look in the mirror and fix what's wrong with them. They have all the say in the world what little JJ around the corner doing, what their mama doing, what their daddy didn't do. Instead of just going and say, you know what, my life is my life. And maybe these trials and tribulations was supposed to make me who I am today. And the things that I can't change in the past, I'm supposed to make a great future with those things that I can't. You have a testimony. So that's what makes life so great. So I don't complain. I signed up for this life journey. I signed up for this soul journey. So I don't complain about nothing. If tomorrow one of my pinky toes fall off, that's just, hey, if that's what it is. Right. I can't change that. I can't change that. I can't change death. Right. It is what it is. You to die is to gain. In the Bible, it says to die is to gain. So it's our information is misconstrued with a lot of things. So when you hear somebody like me talk the way I talk, you really have to go back and do your research, because you ain't heard somebody say 3% of Army was black. You never heard nobody say that. Gave you that information. So take the information and go research the research. Hitler's army had 3% black people in it. He was really taking care of people. Why people have this perception on what they want you to believe, that he was out here and he was doing things bad, but everybody was. Right. Look at all the leaders and the emperors of America, Spain, Portugal, wherever there's battle, there's war. Wherever there's war, there's money. You guys know what's going on, but take this information that I'm telling you and really research the research, because it's a lot of information that you probably ain't never heard. So don't call me Kanye. You feel me? Give me some understanding. And at least go back and research what I say. I say this all the time, and I'm going to end with this. Believe nothing and think of everything. Believe nothing what I just said, but just think about it. As long as you just think, give me a thought, and then the rest will process. Maybe it will resonate with you, maybe it won't, but I'm going to still continue to do what I do in my soul journey, and that's yearn for truth. As a kid, I always wanted to know truth. So a lot of this stuff that I'm telling y'all, I feel like it's truth, but it's up to you to just research it for real and don't believe nothing I say.
Okay. Tim, you need to move down to Columbus, man, so we can do this on the regular. No. You can't stay with me, though. But if you come down here, I'll help you find a place.
I wouldn't stay with you, man. Your feet might
you can't stay here, man. But I'll help you find a place. All right, man. We're going to wrap this up. Kev, did you have a last point, or did you already make it?
Oh, I just appreciate my man Tim coming in today.
Yeah.
It's refreshing to hear a young man with some knowledge on him. Not talking crazy, but have some knowledge and can back it up. And that's really what we need. We need people out here knowing what they're talking about and knowing that the information that I'm giving you is the truth. You just got to go, like you said, you just got to go find it. I'm just putting that little nugget in there. I'm just giving you that little spark to say, okay, prove me wrong. Go look it up. Don't just say, no, that didn't happen. You notice I didn't say that when you said about the black soldiers in Germany. There were, because there are pictures of black men in German uniforms. So so I know, I don't know how much, I don't know the percentage, but trust and believe, Tim, I'm going to look that up.
Right.
And that's what you want.
Hey, they said George.
Oh, he was
George
a maniac.
Bush a
maniac. but again, it's.
I agree with that too.
I mean, what you said, like you said though, Hitler came to the United States to learn how to treat a race of people and to demean them. He actually came here to the United States. Watch how the United States subjugated black people and demonstrated
He
that
shouldn't have did.
and
I don't think he
duplicated
should
it
have
and
did
used it
that,
against the
but
Jews.
yeah, he
Now
did do
that
that.
he did.
Yeah.
So,
He did.
so like the man said, he did do that. Yeah, he did. He came in here. That's how he learned how to make
Yeah.
the Jews a race. He was the first person to ever put the Jews as a race of people, which they
They
are
get
now. But he did that for a reason.
Yeah.
And he learned right here in the United States on how to do it.
Right.
So, my man, thank you a lot,
From the
man.
heart.
Because
Yeah.
I learned from everybody.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is better than I thought it was. Way better. So yeah, Tim,
He
I
said,
love
I
you, man.
carried your
I was
breakfast,
there
man.
when you
I
was a
got
baby.
love.
You my boy. My man, that's my blood.
That's my dog.
That's my blood. All right, we go close this out. 5 on the black hand side.
Man.
Thank y'all for tuning in. Like I said, we're sponsored by Sons of SP Phillips. Tim, you got a Facebook, any social
Twitter,
medias you want to
Timmy
put
Fox,
out there? People want to hit you up, want to talk to you, politic with you about anything?
FOXXX, 3 X's.
Or,
Timmy Fox on Twitter.
Three X's. Perv. Kev, you got some social medias you want to drop?
You can hook me up on Facebook. And that's about it, man. I barely got a Facebook.
Okay.
I got a Twitter out there somewhere, but I don't know.
Okay. Well, anybody, you can hit me up on Instagram at 2harks, on Twitter, MSTAJ_HARK. Facebook, we have a 2harks page that's for this and my other podcast, the Thursday Thursday, and YouTube, which is also 2harks online shows and podcasts. You can look at that. You see some snippets from our shows, our radio shows, and I'm going to add some snippets from this show just so you can see what's going on. If you want to reach out, you want to say something to any of us, feel free to do so. If you're not coming out with something positive or conservative, don't reach out. If anybody come at me sideways, I'm not going to answer. So, we're only here for solutions, not drama. So until the next time we meet, peace out.